don't know me, I'm Kristen with the Traveling Cannonball, and today I'm here to tell you about a couple of incidences that I had with the police. So the first one was when I was in Australia. My mother, my father, and I all went to Australia together, and we had already traveled through Australia for about a week or so, maybe even a week and a half. And we had flown back into Sydney, and the next morning we were picking up a rental car, and we were going to drive to Melbourne, see the coast, look for kangaroos. We found them, by the way. It was kind of cool. And just have a great time. So my dad stayed at the hotel with the luggage, and my mom and I walked back to the airport to pick up the rental car. After we got the rental car, I asked for directions out of the parking garage, or in Australia, as they call it, the car park. And then that's where things started to go a little bit wrong. So when I was trying to exit the car park, I went out a different exit than where the directions had been, and then I couldn't follow the directions, and the next thing I know, I'm in a tunnel going the wrong way away from the airport. And my mom is starting to freak out. She's like, I'm never gonna see my husband again. I had my GPS running on my phone, but I was still struggling greatly. Turned around, had to go back through the tunnel. Then my GPS sent me into an area that was for taxis only. And so now I'm just, it was a mess. I'm struggling. I'm trying to get the way out and get back to the hotel. And we get out on a road going in about the right direction, and we see the hotel. But we've gone past the hotel on a little bit of another road. And so I come to a stoplight, and my mother tells me to make a U-turn. And so I do. Guys, quick tip about driving in Australia. There's a few things that you can do in the United States that you cannot do in Australia. For example, in the US, you can turn right on red. Now in Australia, the equivalent of turning right on red would be turning left on red, because they drive on the other side of the street. That was also adding to my problems in this adventure, because I'd never driven on the other side of the street. But in Australia, you can only turn left on red if there's a sign telling you can turn left on red. Guess what? I learned the hard way that you can also only make a U-turn if there's a sign telling you can make a U-turn. If you're not in the United States, by the way, just as a heads up, you can make a right on red or make a U-turn anywhere where it doesn't tell you can't do that, which is the opposite of a number of countries. Well, lo and behold, right after I make the U-turn that my mother told me to make, yes, Mom, I'm throwing you under the bus, there's a cop behind me with his lights on. I can't find any place to pull over. And being accustomed to driving on the right side of the road, I keep pulling towards the right, and I see the cop in my rearview mirror, and he's pointing to the left. And finally, I pull over to the left. Cop comes out, first words out of his mouth, "Do you have an Australian driver's license?" And I said, "No, I have an Alaska driver's license." And he goes, "Yeah, I was getting really angry, but you kept pulling towards the right. And I got to realizing that you probably were not accustomed to driving on this side of the road, and so you probably did not have an Australian driver's license." He asks for my purse, and I ask my mom for the purse, and she hands me hers. I'm like, "Mom, not your purse, my purse." I give him my driver's license. He explains to me that you can't always make a U-turn, and I explain about how we're trying to get back to the hotel. He pulls it up on his phone and actually gives me the directions on how to get to the hotel, and all's well that ends well. We get to the hotel, pick up my dad. My mother does not never see her husband again, and we go on our merry way. I do struggle with driving on the left side of the road, but over time I get practice on it. My dad actually gets really frustrated, and we call the rental agency and send in a picture of my dad's driver's license, and they add him on, and then my dad and I take turns driving, and that was actually a lot better. Anyway, my mom was like, no way, I'm not driving. So it all worked out well. However, that's not the only time I've had a run-in with the police in a foreign country. The second time was actually just a couple of weeks ago. I was in Casablanca, Morocco. Now, I did not drive in Morocco. Let me show you a video. I'm going to insert a video here of just a little bit of traffic in Morocco. I believe I shot this video in Marrakesh. Casablanca's even worse. And so you can see that I have no desire to drive in Morocco. Matter of fact, just a couple of minutes after I shot some video of traffic, I actually heard a motorbike slam into the back of the car. So, I'm in Morocco. It's my first full day in Morocco, and unlike in Australia, I am not driving. I am on foot. You're going, Kristen, you're on foot? You still had a run-in with the police? What did you do? Well, I got lost. And I stopped on the side of the road with my phone, and I was using it to figure out how to get back to my hotel. I'd already walked over 10 miles that day, and I'm just ready to relax and call it an evening, but I can't find my hotel. So I'm standing on the side of the road, I'm leaning against a pole, and I hear some motorcycles pull up. Well, all day long, I've had taxi drivers and everybody else trying to get my attention, trying to get me to ride with them, trying to, just all kinds of things. And so all day long, I've just gotten into the habit of waving people away. So I'm on my phone and I hear these motorcycles pull up and they speak to me in French. I don't speak French, and I just wave them away. But they don't go away. They keep speaking to me in French. So I look up, and it's two police officers on motorcycles. Well, they're trying to tell me something, but I don't speak French. They also speak Arabic. Arabic and Berber are actually the official languages in Morocco. Berber only became an official language in 2012. French is not an official language in Morocco, but a lot of people speak French because Morocco was a French protectorate until 1956. And so these officers are speaking to me in French, and I'm going, what? And then one of them is like, Ruski? And I'm like, no. And the other one's like, English? And I'm like, yes. And so they used very broken English, but hey, better than my French or Arabic, to explain to me that I needed to put my phone in my pocket so that it wasn't stolen by somebody on a motorbike. I told them okay, but that I was looking for where I was going, and one of them, again, he's using mostly French because they don't have the English, but I hear him say something about hotel, and I was like, yes, and they're like, name, and I told them the name of my hotel and actually showed it to them on my phone, and they're like, go, pointing like down the street, you know, straight, or I don't know. They didn't use a lot of words. We were communicating, you know, minimal English, no French, no Arabic, lots of gestures. And so I wanted the confirmation on my phone, but I get it pulled up on my phone and I see, yeah, I just need to go straight down the road. So the motorcycle police pull off and I start heading down the road. Little bit later down the road, I see one of them. And then he pulls on forward. And then I get further down the road and I see him again. And at this point, I'm very close to the hotel, and he actually points out my hotel and names it. And then he pulls ahead and he pulls up to the hotel, gets off his motorcycle, and speaks to the man at the door. I get up to the door, and then the man at the door explains what I actually have managed to figure out, but I appreciate this police officer and his desire both for the foreign visitor to be safe and also for me to understand. And so the doorman explains to me what I just said about I need to keep my phone in my pocket so that somebody on a motorbike doesn't come and steal it out of my hand. And so that is my run-in with the police. Now, the interesting thing is Casablanca was my first stop in Morocco, and 2 nights later, the first night of my organized tour of Morocco, I actually saw that when my whole group, along with our Moroccan tour guide, was walking from the restaurant back to our hotel, that once again, there was a motorcycle cop who was following us, and he was stopping at each intersection as we crossed the road and so forth. I didn't see that in any of the other places that I visited in Morocco, but my tour guide also implied that really everywhere else in Morocco was safer than Casablanca. So I appreciate both the cop in Australia who helped me out, didn't give me a ticket, gave me a little bit of a pardon for my sins, and the cops in Morocco and Casablanca who were really trying to protect me and the other members of my tour group. And in case you're wondering if it was the same ones, I don't think so. I was looking at him and he didn't look familiar, but it was a couple of days later. All right, I will be continuing to tell about my adventures in Morocco in some of the upcoming videos, so make sure that you subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you can hear all the fascinating stories of my travels, and as well as tips and tricks and other advice. And until next time, bye.